Just like clap and we're good. All right, man. So we're sitting here with John Timmerman from a few different companies.
Yeah.
And you've got, let me pull this up. You've got Good Monster, which is what I first know you from the most, because I don't know if it was the Facebook ads, or I don't know if you did run a Facebook ad with it. For some, I just was seeing those videos all the time. I think it was last year.
From me or
from you?
Yeah. So we put out a few different types of content.
Yeah.
So originally, Good Monster started from nothing. It was just me.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it was me and a partner who's no longer with us. But so I've been very used to doing all the content and everything. But since, I guess, last year, we've started to expand into more design-based content, putting things out that are educational to people. Obviously, want them to see our knowledge in marketing. But I still do quite a few content videos.
Yeah. Has that ever been a challenge? Like, I mean, I guess I know your answer to this already, but has that ever been a thought that crossed your mind if you're putting out, like, because those videos you were doing were educational for restaurants.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe that's what it was last year, is you were talking a lot to kind of restaurants from what I remember. But has it ever been a thought of, like, you don't want to put out something that's educational on how to do something because you're worried maybe now they won't hire you, or maybe a competitor would see it and then take that?
0% of me has ever thought that. I mean, restaurant owners are fucking busy. I mean, and it's rare for them to have a marketing person dedicated. Obviously, the more successful the restaurant, the more likely that is.
Yeah.
Or if they have multiple locations, that kind of thing. So I never thought it would be honestly, I didn't even care either, because if they do take it and run with it and it's working great, then they're going to grow, and then eventually they're going to need somebody. Yeah. And they're either going to hire somebody full time or they're going to hire an agency like us. So
that's a good way to look at it.
It doesn't really matter either way, but
yeah.
Also, it's just fun. Like, I love talking about stuff that I love and I understand marketing and culture deeply, and I love talking about it. So it's just a sort of an outlet also.
Yeah.
Also, it helps me learn. I mean, you might have heard this before, but one of the best ways to learn is to talk about something, right? Because you're either forced to research it before you talk about it, or you talk about it enough that you start to, talk with other people, and just putting it out there. And whether it's public speaking or podcasts like this or videos, you're sort of forced to know your shit or not, and nobody's going to watch it or see it,
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It's a really great way for me to learn too.
Yeah. Do you ever maybe in the earlier days put something out and kind of think to yourself, do I know this 100% before I start talking about it? Because I feel like that only because I run into so many, and especially on like the internet, I hear so many different sides to how, let's say, a Facebook ad, what works, right? How to do certain things, that it's kind of hard to find like the definitive, this is the one accurate way, to do something. So if I put out a piece of content or like a Instagram story where I'm talking about something, I always say, I don't know if this is right or not, but it's what's worked for me.
Yeah. No, I don't think I ever have. Number one is I try not to talk about things that I don't know 100%, right? So that's one thing. But even like the first thing that pops into my head is I did a video that went on YouTube, and it was comparing some platforms that we work with at Good Monster. So Magento versus Shopify versus BigCommerce, I think was the video, and it was basically just talking about companies that were so this wasn't really restaurant companies, but companies that were retail built. Okay. Right. So we have a client that is in every Target store, Bed Bath & Beyond, all the major box stores, but they don't really have a very successful e-commerce business.
Okay.
Right. So then they come to us. So it was sort of something we were dealing with at the time. So I'm like, this is something a lot of companies are going to be faced with. So I went on and I talked about the differences between the platforms, and how Magento is kind of an older platform that has a lot of fans, and it's grown, and there's some shortcomings to that. And here's the ones that Shopify fills in. Shopify is like the new, easier, thing. But then some people don't like it because it didn't scale. Like there's all these different things, right? They all work.
Yeah.
It's more preference than anything, honestly. Yeah. But then I had somebody comment because I think I mentioned in there an old number of how many websites were built on Magento versus how many were on Shopify versus how many were on BigCommerce. And I think I said that that I didn't even say for sure in the episode. I actually said, like, I think the majority currently today are built on Magento, and then Shopify, and then BigCommerce is the least. And like somebody commented like on all of the videos, and then all the other comments saying like, this guy's full of shit. He doesn't know his stats. I'm like, dude, I got a stat wrong. Like, sorry.
Yeah, man.
My opinion on the different platforms are still the same, you know? So like, I don't know. There's always stuff you don't know where it's like slightly inaccurate. I mean, we're talking about Gary Vaynerchuk. He even says shit that's probably not 100% accurate, right?
Yeah,
but it doesn't mean he doesn't know his stuff, you know?
Yeah. I just recently got to that point. Like, I don't like that guy commenting on all the stuff. I don't know how, like, if that bothered you or not, but like having like a small Instagram account, and I would just comment on everything, especially Gary's advice of like commenting on everybody's comments.
Yeah.
Right. You know, replying back. And in the beginning, I never did that. They commented. I was like, oh, cool. You know, that's it. I never acknowledged it or anything.
Yeah.
And then I went through a phase where I really specifically commented back to everything within the first like 5 or 10 minutes. Up until recently, I was doing that. But recently I've just been, I don't comment back, especially when it's negative stuff. Because like I'll post, I did a podcast on a couple weeks ago on like the food trucks in downtown Syracuse, and like they may, the city might be taking away some of the dates that they have available to them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's restaurant owners who are like, yeah, fuck the food trucks. Like, I'm in downtown, I'm paying rent, and I'm here every day. I don't want a fucking food truck showing up here on Tuesday to take my lunch business from me, right? And then there's others that are like, fuck that, you know, go after City Hall. Let's, you know, we need our food trucks here.
Yeah.
And 6 months ago, I would have been right there replying to every comment, like really getting into it. And on that episode, I was just like, nah, I'm not going to comment back on any of them.
Yeah.
And I just got to that point where the stuff doesn't, you know, my wife has
doesn't bother you as much anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Rebecca has a story of me like on a Sunday night after I posted some dumb video up for 4 hours commenting back to every person that said something on it. And then not only that, but then like telling her what everybody was saying on it.
Yeah.
That was not a good night for her in the
There's something
household.
Interesting that will happen though, and maybe I can change your mind about the negative comments.
Yeah, please.
Listen, I don't have huge followings on my social media. I am active, quite honestly, in all transparency. I'm active on them purely so I can learn. I would probably personally would not be an avid user of social media if it wasn't my business.
Really?
Yeah, it's super interesting. Not for any reason, not for any like, oh, I don't think it's good or anything like that. Just me personally, like I enjoy like nature and my family and just you know, exercise and things like that, right? So I wouldn't spend a lot of time on social media, but I do because I want to learn. Like LinkedIn right now is the hot platform, you know. It's been around forever, but it's got its moment right now.
Right.
And so I'm on that a lot to try to learn, to try to see, you know, what types of content do people put out and or engage with. Yeah. So here's another instance. I posted something about how I believe brand is more important than SEO. So SEO, search engine optimization, they're both very important. But trying to get yourself ranking first in Google, in my opinion, is not as important as getting everybody to know your brand so they're going to search for you, not just searching for what you offer. Yeah. Right? So if you're searching for, you know, coffee mug, and you don't know any brands, you're going to go on Google and search for, you know, whatever, organic coffee mug or, you know, something sustainable coffee mug, right? Yeah. But if there's a badass company out there that's putting out content all the time, putting out great content, loving its customers, putting out a great product, and everyone knows of sustainable coffee mug XYZ, they're just going to go directly to sustainable coffee mug XYZ. That's brand. So I put a video out, and then I had somebody who was clearly an SEO comment and just questioned like 2 seconds in the video, like, you said this from minute 138 to 145, don't you think this, that, and the other thing? And I responded and just said, no, I'm not saying SEO is not important. Like, we do it. Good Monster we make a lot of money off of SEO, and we help a lot of companies make a lot of money from SEO, right? But that doesn't mean if any company ever came to me and shelled out $20,000 and said, like, we want to do SEO, if they need brand more, which is almost everyone, I would say, no, you should spend that on brand, because longer term, you're going to grow your business so much more and you're going to make so much more money. So I actually spent some time with that gentleman back and forth. And by the end, my goal wasn't necessarily to prove him wrong. It was just to make sure he wasn't pulling whoever was reading that over to like, SEO is the thing you need, because it was untrue. Like, it is untrue. And so I just wanted to make sure it was clear that everyone reading it, I didn't care if he knew it, because he runs an SEO company probably. LinkedIn, you can see what people do.
Right.
So I wasn't necessarily trying to sway him. I just wanted to make sure everyone else reading it wasn't misinformed by, his comments. And by the end, it worked. I mean, we basically like went silent on the end that yes, brand is more important. Here's why.
Yeah, for sure.
So negative comments. I mean, there's also negative comments that are purely people just looking to get the comment out. So people click through to their profiles. I mean, you see a lot of foreign spam that way. And all that kind of stuff. So to me, there's a difference of a negative comment, which is somebody genuinely, like you said, that somebody commenting about the food truck. That's some restaurant owner who's genuinely pissed that this is happening. But you can use that opportunity to say, like, well, why don't you start a food truck and go and put it across the city,
right,
so you can get more business over there while you're getting business here, right? Like, instead of complaining about evolution, why don't you do something about it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think, it's funny, man. Like 5 years ago, as I started doing this stuff, like 4 years ago, is a way to make money. And 5 years ago, I was reading poetry and, hiking to waterfall. No, but, I was definitely not nearly as into it as I am today. Yeah. And there's Rebecca and I just got back from our honeymoon. We went to Hawaii for 10 days.
Nice. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. And I didn't post a whole hell of a lot from the business, but I was more from my personal account, which I never do. Usually during the day, I'm never really posting on my personal stuff unless I'm sharing, something that my business posted. And somebody commented and they were like, "Looks like you're having a great time. Now get off your phone." And it's just like, it's like, I don't want to say it's become a part of me because that sounds terrible, but it's just become kind of like the way of life, I feel like. Yeah. And I don't even feel like that I'm doing it well, but it's just become a way of life, so.
We're in that, I don't know, how old are you?
33.
Yeah. So you're a little bit younger than me, but it is a way of life. Yeah. I mean, we're stuck in this in-between stage where, like, when you were born and growing up, it didn't exist.
Right.
Social media didn't exist, and then it did.
Yeah.
And then you got people stuck on both sides that are like, you shouldn't use it because you're going to miss out on the sunshine out there.
Right.
And then you have people that are like, well, you can see sunshine in Africa from your phone now. Like, so like, can't we do both? So I don't know. It's we're in this weird spot. We're in 50 years. It's not even going to be a thing. Like, social media will be the way of life. Like, nobody will know any different.
Yeah, it'll rank us and all that kind of stuff, in real life.
So it's just changed, man. I mean, some people can embrace it, some people don't. And
yeah, I feel like the fact that and I feel like those comments are probably like much more they probably represent a much larger small business segment, is social media a thing? I know for a fact that there's at least 40% of the restaurant owner population in our area that's asking that question, who still haven't posted anything.
Like, is it valuable for me?
Right, exactly. And the fact that, like, that question is being that's already passed. Like, that passed a couple years ago, the answer to that question, the importance of asking that question past a couple years ago.
So to any of them thinking about that
Yeah.
right now or listening, I'm sorry, anybody who's listening who is thinking that right now,
Yeah.
My father-in-law just opened a travel center in Utica.
Okay.
So my wife and newborn son and I went out and went there. It was a soft opening. Didn't tell a soul outside of kind of the family and the workers that it was opening.
Yeah.
Hence soft opening, right?
Yeah.
Didn't even tell the local businesses. And the only thing that they did was they had been posting the progress on Facebook.
Okay.
The only thing. They hadn't done any advertisements. They hadn't done any press.
Yeah.
Nothing. So they did the soft opening and had probably 100 people roll through there.
Wow.
Only saw it on Facebook.
That's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that proves it right there. In an area that is not social media. I mean, it's in Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Right? So, you don't get a lot of people who are on TikTok or, any of the newer aged social media platforms. So there's a lot of case studies or examples of this.
Yeah.
Original Grain. I mean,
he's
he's exclusively on social media.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's been able to, being Chris, has been able to pull people down from SU, kids from SU, which has been historically tough.
Yeah.
For downtown restaurants to do.
Listen, there's businesses in Westcott that have a tough time getting the SU kids there,
Yeah. So obviously I'm a little biased.
Yeah, for sure.
And you and I are both probably a little bit biased, but it's it doesn't break my heart, but it's sad to see that companies aren't embracing it or aren't at least like trying to look at it because it can really grow their business incredibly.
It's I still get frustrated. I have to I get frustrated at a lot of stuff if you haven't been able to tell, but I get really frustrated when I see a restaurant doing a bad job on their social accounts. And really that's just a conversation of Facebook for this area at least.
Yeah.
But then also putting money into like local television commercials, or print, even depending on who they are. I just had a restaurant it was just such a great example of how it can hurt you. They were running a big Facebook ad for Valentine's Day, and it was a picture of, it's a restaurant that's been in Syracuse for decades. The picture was clearly people who aren't from here. It was like this couple sitting across from each other, leaning over a table to kiss, and a dozen red roses on the table. The guy was in like a tuxedo. The woman was in like a gown. And this is like a family restaurant, and also clearly not in the restaurant that was promoting it. But it was a big enough Facebook ad budget. I don't know exactly what they spent, but you could see it had enough likes that they had put more than like $10 into it. And maybe 70% of the comments were, "Which restaurant is that? There's no way in hell that's this one."
Yeah, where is that again?
But at the same time, I was at the gym and saw them with the worst, like low budget local television commercial running at 5 a.m. You know, the exact same restaurant.
Spend money and they will come.
Yeah, man.
It's a mindset that's tough to get out of.
Yeah, it is for sure, especially in some of those really expensive mediums, and local television. I'm sure I've never worked with local TV commercials. I can't imagine it's cheap. I mean, radio is kind of expensive for the area.
Yeah, it's affordable. I mean,
is it?
It is, and listen, I mean, we do a lot of digital, but I'm not against TV or billboards or print at all. You just need to use it in the right way.
Yeah.
At the right time.
Yes.
So versus just saying, oh, if I spend $10,000 on TV, it's going to work.
Yeah.
You have to do it in the right way. You have to be smart about it.
Yeah.
And listen, you have a lot of these, the TV, the radio, they have sales reps. Their job is just to sell you shit.
Yeah, for sure.
So you have to be you have to have somebody who can ask the questions or to try to figure out, like, is this actually the right time? Are they just sticking me in like dead air space because it's there and they're selling it to me for dirt cheap?
Right.
Right. So a lot of times, like, having somebody that understands that, even if you consult with somebody or something like that before you spend, it's worth the money to hire somebody or to find somebody who can like investigate before you start spending money on things like that. Because just because it's local TV, just because it's local digital, doesn't mean it's going to work. Right. Just spending money on Facebook ads or Instagram ads or YouTube ads isn't going to work. It's no different from TV, billboards, Facebook. Just building a website because it's there doesn't mean it's going to bring you business. All marketing has to be a mix of science and art for it to actually work.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've noticed that with a couple Facebook video ads I've ran for the card, and some stuff that I put out that I've made, like I did a dumb video holding that bear and acting like it was the one talking about the Eat Local CNY card. And that didn't do anything. I was like crying, laughing, thinking.
You know what, though? That's worth its weight in gold, right? Because you learn the types of things that work and don't work. Like you might think something's hilarious and it doesn't do shit. And you're like, oh, okay, well, that's just me. I'm not going to do that again, but I'll try this thing over here and that might work.
Right. I spent $50 on a Facebook ad to learn that nobody thought that was funny enough to buy the card.
Yeah.
That was it. And that's great $50, you know?
Yeah.
So a year and a half ago, Thanksgiving morning, I'm going through the Black Friday ads.
Yeah.
See a camera on sale, and I'm like, you know, I need to start doing better content. And so I just bought it.
Nice.
And so I wish I had researched it a little bit more and, you know, got something a little bit different. But it's worked great. And then this camera was that setup right there, the lens and the camera is like $1,700 new. I got it off Facebook, off somebody who just wanted to get rid of it for like $700. Wow. And it was only like a month old.
Side note, Facebook Marketplace is like the real deal.
I love flipping digital cameras on there. I've done it 10 times maybe. Wow. I just find a I know, you know, I know enough about them. Yeah. And
find a good deal and then turn around and.
Yeah. And sometimes I'm a dick and I like wait and like wind up buying it for, you know, a third of what they sold it for. Yeah. Of what they listed it for. I mean, because.
Dude, you're not a dick, supply and demand.
Yeah. Right. And then I get to play around with that camera for a couple weeks while I turn around and sell it for a profit. It's fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Gary Vaynerchuk would be proud.
I know. I tried, you know, I'm wearing his 05s right now on my feet. The shoes.
Oh, sick, are you?
Yeah. And I love listening to, you know, his stuff. I was just listening to him before you came in. And the only thing that's the only flip game I've been able to get into successfully. I went up to like the thrift store and found some like vintage Miller High Life sign, right, for like $0.25. Yeah. And went on eBay and it was selling for like $20. And I was like, this is amazing. Yeah. You know, it's going to work. And I posted it and it sold. And then I saw the eBay fees were like $10 or whatever it was. Yeah. I was like, what the hell? This isn't a good idea. Like,
I never got into flipping anything. I don't know. I honestly don't have the patience. I mean, you know, like it's just for me, like my ADD kicks in and I can't wait and I can't it's like painful. Yeah. It's just not me.
Yeah. I get that.
But it is really cool. Like how obviously he promotes it and he, and maybe this is a good segue into the conference, but as we now have him coming to the conference, right. I've been listening to him a bunch more to get some context because we're still, finalizing like what he's going to talk about. Okay. And I really want to get some context into, you know, I've been aware of him for a long time since Wine Library. I had a different business, an online business, and he had started a wine library right around the same time. Not the site, but the show, Wine Library TV. Cool. Right around when we started Project Rock City. Okay. And so I was like taking pieces from him. So but I've like been in and out of like following him. So anyways, I was listening to a podcast where he was saying why he started to talk about flipping. And it's because I had so many people saying like, oh, I have no money to start this business. I can't afford it. And he's like, well, here's how you go afford it. Right. That's why he started talking about going on to garage sales and flipping and making a nest that way. And then using that to start the next thing. Yeah. So I was like, oh, that's pretty insightful.
Yeah. Yeah. So to get that camera, that's what I did. I just flipped like 8 other cameras, you know,
and then use that to
buy that, you know? So yeah, I get that completely. And, I love his early, like I have a client, we have a weekly wine tasting show. It's nothing like Wine Library. This is just funny. It's like, the person that knows she's not like a wine expert by any stretch of the imagination. But she tastes a glass of wine. We tell some funny story, and then we put it on sale for that week, and that's it. And it works,
sweet.
man. It converts well.
That's fun.
And that's just straight from Gary Vee. So,
yeah.
So September 17th, is that right?
That's correct.
You guys have this conference at the On Center.
Yep.
And Gary Vaynerchuk, AJ Vaynerchuk are going to be Gary's going to be the headline speaker. AJ's going to be here speaking, which that's a pretty rare opportunity to have both of them speak, isn't it?
I don't know if they've ever spoken together.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they will between now and then, but to my knowledge, they haven't.
Yeah.
In the same talk.
So, what made you want to put this conference on?
So I have two other partners, Al Kutri and Rob Schauger, and Rob and I were just having coffee, and he's a business developer. He's a networker.
Okay.
He knows and loves to network. Both for professional, reasons, but just that's the type of guy he is also.
Yeah.
So he puts on these events in Saratoga and Albany, I believe, maybe Utica also. Small networking, happy hour style events where they'll bring in somebody local to talk about something, for a few minutes, and then share some drinks and business cards and things like that. And he's like, hey, I want to put one of these events out in Syracuse. Any way you want to partner up and do it, because he usually partners with somebody out there to, make sure people are there, get there and attend. And I said, personally, like, I'm so flat out. Like, I have Good Monster, we have Noble now, and I have a third company that I own with my wife, a jeans company.
I'm fascinated by that, by the way.
And
I'm always fascinated by somebody. I sell a product, and never doing the content, like any content for it.
Yeah,
I'm fascinated by, like, every time I see something like that, because I think I've been following that for at least like maybe a year and a half or 2 years, and I'm like, oh my God, that must be amazing to have like a jean company that you can just create content.
It's
for
crazy.
All the time.
It is.
So, sorry to interrupt.
It's a whole other beast.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
it is.
sure.
It is super interesting because Good Monster is a service company.
Yeah.
Jackson Jovi's a product, consumer product company, and now we have No Bull, which is an event. I mean, they're just vastly different business models.
Yeah.
And you might think you learn one thing from one that you can apply to the other. Like, you're like, oh shit, only like 10% of what I know actually applies to this new business. So I have to learn all that too.
Yeah.
So Rob came to me and he asked me, hey, do you want to help me put this on? I said, honestly, no. I want to help you, and I will introduce you to maybe somebody who does want to go in. But I just, in my gut, like, I don't have any passion or desire to put on a small networking event. Like, most of Good Monster's business and clients are not in the area.
Yeah.
They're all over the country and a few all over the world now. And from a professional standpoint, like, I don't see it helping Good Monster out. Jackson Jovi's customers are all over the world. Like, I don't see it helping that. And so this would just be sort of like a feel good thing for me. I love meeting new people, but to put in a ton of effort to do it, I just don't have it in me right now. Plus, I was about to have a newborn son, the first one. So thank you. I said, so no, but I will help you. And so he's like, okay, cool. Let me think about it. And, let me know if you have anybody in mind. And we meet every once in a while, just personally grab some drinks or coffee or something.
Yeah.
And the next time we met, I said, listen, I don't want to do this small thing, but I've always had this sort of underlying desire to show the world how awesome Central New York is. Good Monster has had the opportunity to we didn't actually get it, but we had the opportunity to help market some of the Adirondacks and some Central New York cities, through RFPs and things like that. And I was like super excited. I was like, oh, finally. And we didn't end up getting it.
Okay.
But I've always wanted to do it. I grew up here. I've lived here almost my whole life, with the exception of about 4 years where I moved around from Boston to Richmond. And I love it. I love the fall. I love the weather. I actually love the snow and the winter. You know, I wouldn't want it year round, but I love the change of the seasons.
Right.
And we're now in this time when there's so much energy and so much support for not only Syracuse, but other upstate cities, right? Yeah. So you can look at the numbers, and the economy, you know, has not been great previously. It's in a pretty good, you know, growth potential place now. Yeah. Some good things are happening. Money's coming in. You know, Microsoft is moving into the area. Yeah. You have a lot of investment and potential, right? And you have people here. I was just talking to somebody yesterday. It was actually on the video we're filming with BHG for the conference. And we're talking about how there's this energy in the city that feels like it's from outside. Like people are coming in and being like, wow, this city's actually pretty awesome. Yeah. You know, like I like the people, I like the opportunities. Look at these companies that are growing and doing really well here. TCG Player and, you know, companies that are young and growing. So there's this energy and passion of people who have sort of a chip on their shoulder that grew up here, but there's also people that are coming in. Met a gentleman that just moved here because his wife is a hand surgeon. Oh, cool. I forgot where she's working, but she got a job here. Yeah. He's a consultant, very successful one, goes around the country. He came in, he's like, man, I didn't have a good like feeling about Syracuse. I'm like, I'll live there, but only because I travel 5 days a week. He's like, I came here. He's like, I love everything. Like I go to all these events and I meet all these people, and it's like, I fell in love with this area. I fell in love with the weather. I fell in love with the people in the area, and you're central to everything. Like, he's like, I was surprised. Yeah. So all this energy has sort of like been there, right? So with this event, when Rob came to me and said this, I said, no, I don't want to do the small thing, but I've always wanted to like hit a home run that just all of a sudden put Central New York on the map in a big way. And unfortunately, I think the way to do that is to bring in exciting things that people already know, like a Gary Vaynerchuk or something like that. Like bring in something where people will travel to the area, and then we can win them over, right? So I growing up here, I was like, that's the way I think you have to do it. Yeah, you know. So companies like a TCG Player are doing that. Like you go inside TCG Player, places ridiculous. Unreal. Yeah. You know, so from somebody who's moving from Delaware or Pennsylvania or Ohio or wherever, and they're looking at a job there, they go there. That's impressive. Yeah. I think we need to do the same thing. So I said I would invest my time, some of my money, and any resources that I can if we can pull off an event, a conference, a festival, something that eventually can rival what South by Southwest did for Austin. Yeah. So that was the core of where No Bull started, is let's start the next South by Southwest. Yeah. We can't call it the North by Northeast or whatever, because I feel like that might get us in a little, I mean, maybe not, but maybe just be confusing. Right. And he's like, yeah, I'd be interested in that. Like, let's talk through it. Yeah. So as soon as we said that, the very next day we met, and it just started moving so incredibly fast. Wow. Like we came up with a name. Like this happens so fluidly. That's a word. I don't even know. That it's shocking to me. Yeah. It's shocking to Al. It's shocking to Rob. I mean, it happened so fast. It happened in the matter of a few weeks where we were like, what should the name be? Let's do a no bullshit business conference. Boom, done. No bull.
To be honest, I didn't think it was going to happen. Because Al.
It's too big.
I know. Al showed up to Cafe Kubal's office, and I heard him talking about it, and then came around the corner, and he mentioned it to me, or Matt and them were talking, and so they were like, "Yeah, we're going to be bringing Gary Vee, and we just have to sell this many bottles of wine." And I was like, "Well, that's not going to happen."
Yeah. Once we said $100,000 worth of wine. Yeah. Everyone probably. Right. Nobody would say it to our face, but we got some funny looks of like, oh.
And then like a few weeks later, you announced it, and I was like, I wonder if they sold it. I was like, I wonder if this is like we're just gonna put it out there in the universe and hope that we hit it. And I was like, I went to actually their business card. I went to Gardner and Caparelli for a meeting,
Yeah.
and I saw all their cases of wine. I was like, they fucking sold all that wine.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. So I mean, we came up with a name, brought Al in because Al has a background in events, and we needed somebody who's going to throw a badass event.
Yeah,
you know, and the synergy between the three of us is perfect. I mean, when I say this thing is meant to happen. 20 years from now, no bull. 20, 40, I guess, is going to be a massive 10-day conference / festival.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, a destination event. Like it's
awesome.
going to happen. And the reason why I say that is that not only are Al, Rob, and I that type of people who are just going to push it forward, but we all have our own strong suits and our lanes that we stay in, right? So I am the ideas, the marketing, there's nothing we can't do kind of guy.
Yeah.
Rob is the keep us grounded, make sure all the, financing and all the things that need to happen to run a business are in check.
Yeah.
And Al is the events, networker kind of, operations type person, and we all fit really well together. So the idea for Gary was very intentional. It was, who is the biggest name that we can get that has the widest reach at the same time. Yeah. So like we could have gone out and gotten some big time CEO to come talk. Yeah. I don't know, the CEO of Spotify or something, paid a bunch of money and gotten him, but that would have been a very narrow audience. Yeah. The Spotify name or whatever would have gotten some recognition and like, oh, he's the founder, the CEO, like, so I'm going to go see him. But he wouldn't get college kids who want inspiration on how to start a business or how to choose their career path. Yeah. So Gary was the one. He is the reason. And when I'm on stage, like right before he comes on, like I'm going to give him a big thank you because he's the reason why this event is starting. Yeah. We made a very conscious decision that if Gary said no, or we couldn't get him, that the event wasn't going to happen. So he is the deciding factor. And so, we couldn't afford to get him here. So we had a very interesting way to get him here. Stemming back to our talk about flipping and bartering and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because he's like like $200,000 or $300,000 for a single speaking gig.
Big
right?
time, big time. And so just hit him up on Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn and every platform and just said, hey, his new wine company, Empathy. Yeah. I know he was putting a lot of effort into that. So I said, what if we sell a bunch of bottles? Started with 1,000, no answer. Then went to 2,000, no answer. I think got to 3,000. And somebody on his team reached out on LinkedIn and said, hey, this is super interesting. Can we chat? So jumped on the phone with Andrew, I think his name was, and talked through what the event is and what we're trying to do. And I said, listen, we're trying to build the next South by Southwest, but we're trying to do it in a way that is moving people forward in a positive way. So we envision this starting with business and showing people the way to grow their business, the unbiased way, not, bringing people in, bringing a TV executive in to talk about why TV is the best, or bringing a venture capital firm in to talk about how you get funding from a venture capital firm. We're going to bring in people who have done great things to talk about things that they're not financially invested in. So we pitched this to him and negotiated, and he's like, okay, well, if you can sell 5,000 bottles, we're in. We'll do it. So we came up with the terms of the agreement and ended up selling through $25,000 worth of wine in the first 20 days. Wow. And then fast forward to today.
And how did you do that?
We're at about 75,000.
How did you do that? Because there weren't any Facebook ads.
I don't know. No, we did zero marketing. That was part of the contract, is we couldn't announce Gary's name.
Really? Yeah, I know that. I know you couldn't announce him, but you guys were going around and just meeting with people.
Hustling.
Like
literally 50 years ago, there were door-to-door salesmen for knives.
Right.
We did that.
That's amazing.
Except we were hustle and wine. In fact, we had a lot of people that thought we were working for empathy.
I mean, just consider we've been at this now for 41 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Just consider what we were talking about in the beginning about SEO and branding.
Zero of that.
None of that.
None of that.
That's amazing.
No. And I mean, that was tough because that was my original thought for this whole, like, let's offer him this, is that we were going to have a little ticker like on our website that showed like where we were at. And so we were going to launch it. And it would have said like, whatever, $100 we're now at. We have to get to 100,000.
Yeah.
And then we were going to say like, help us get Gary here. That was the whole thing.
Yeah.
But they were like, no, can't do that. Like,
yeah.
There's too much on the line. And I totally understand why. Like Gary's brand is on the line, and like, what if something goes wrong? What if we only sell $500 worth of wine? Like, and then he's going to have to say like, no, I'm not coming. Like in hindsight, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
And you would see something like that in a lot of different areas, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's kind of what's the website where you can go and contribute to somebody's project.
Oh yeah, like a GoFundMe.
Yeah, like a GoFundMe.
Yeah.
So it just, that kind of reminds me of that when you said that.
Yeah.
It's amazing that you guys fucking did that.
Yeah.
Just by running around in person.
And then he opened up all the doors. So when I say like his name attached to this, and his team knew it. I mean, they knew as soon as we announced Gary, like, it's gold.
Yeah.
Everyone else is going to flock to it, right? So, part of the contract was to have his brother come speak. His brother's AJ Vaynerchuk is the CEO of Vayner Sports, the sports division of VaynerX, the umbrella company. And so he's going to come speak. I'm excited to see Gary, obviously, but I'm really excited to hear AJ talk because his topic is how to build a rhino instead of a unicorn.
Oh, that's cool.
And it like speaks to my heart. It's basically like, okay, everyone wants to try to build the next Facebook or Amazon, or they want to get passive income. They want to take the easy way and make $1 billion and drive around Ferraris and all this kind of stuff, right? Well, this is like, instead of trying to shoot for the unicorn, which you should plan on never being able to achieve, because it's probably not.
Yeah.
Right? Especially if you're doing it in the way where you think, where it's, let's go raise a bunch of money and then build this thing and they will come. Instead, build a rhino. Sell 1 coffee cup, then sell 2, then sell 3. And then when you hit a competitor, find a way to smash through them, or find a better product or make yours better, and then sell 10 cups. Right. So it's 1 foot in front of the other, smash through boundaries and like make it happen, versus trying to go, shoot for the moon with $100 million investment. Yeah.
All right.
So I'm really excited.
You saying that, I've never thought of this question before because I kind of feel bad, but how do you feel about competition?
I love it.
Do you love it because it's like, I want to beat that? Like, is it like a goal to achieve? Like, I'm going to get more clients, get more billings. I'm going to overtake that competitor. Or do you love it in the fact of like, oh, there's space for everybody. We can all get along.
I'm a real competitive person. I'm more competitive with myself than other people. Okay. Right. So I'm always trying to beat myself. Yeah. I'm trying to beat what I did yesterday. I have a background in fitness and sports and athletics, and
you're training for an endurance summit.
I'm currently training for a 50-mile race. Yeah. Awesome. And I'm not a runner. Yeah. So it's been quite and we're in the dead of winter, which also adds another element. But
I got to ask you a question about that when you're done.
Yeah. So I've been very competitive with myself. So most of it stems from that. But I'm also, to get real deep here, like one thing that I don't love about myself is that I do look at other people and like what they're doing. And then I sort of am like, I want to like be there. Yeah. Right. And I'm like, what is it like to be there and like, and, do what they're doing or be that successful. Yeah. And so I find myself, looking at like how they did it and then getting away from whatever I'm doing to do that. Yeah. So I would say up until my mid 20s, like that's the route I was taking. I started a few businesses in my mid 20s and I built this, like my first one was an online personal training company. Okay. Built it and then just basically looked at what everyone else was doing in the space and like did that in my business. So essentially I created the same business they were. So I didn't have any differentiation.
Yeah.
Right. So I hit my 30s and I sort of realized that about myself, and I have made a conscious effort to change that and just focus on what I'm doing and do it better every day, stay competitive with myself. So when I look at, long-winded answer to your question, when I look at like business competition, sure, there's a piece of me that wants to beat everyone and be the king of the mountain, right? But at the same time, I immediately, when I think of that, I immediately also see the opportunity that there are so many fish in the sea.
Yeah.
You know, Good Monster can be $100 million company right alongside, my friend Jeff's company, Digital Hive.
Yeah.
They can also be $100 million company.
Right.
Right. And Jeff's an amazing person. Right. So that's another thing is like, I never look at competition personally.
Yeah.
It's only professionally.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, like I want No Bull to beat South by Southwest.
Yeah.
But I could meet the South by Southwest owners and go get a drink with them and have a great time and talk about the craziness of growing an event. I mean, so there's that division.
Yeah.
You know, it's never on a personal level for me.
Right.
I never get like, jealous of the other person or like I want them to fail. Yeah. It's always just from a company standpoint.
Yeah. Personally, I struggle with the difference. I've never been a really competitive person, but I found myself getting more competitive over the past couple years. And for me, I think maybe just because I was never really strongly competitive, for me, it's trying to find the balance between like kind of that healthy competitiveness, trying to, be better and, all that kind of stuff. And just shitting on somebody else. Yeah. So trying to find that balance for me has been a struggle. And, it's like the pendulum swing, I'm kind of a dick, and my wife gets the most honest conversation, like comments that, more than anybody else from me. And so, if she didn't love me as much as she does, and she was just a innocent bystander, she would say, yeah, Anthony's kind of a dickhead when it comes to this stuff. You know? He just can't stand what other people do. And so I know that's going to swing back, and I can kind of see it like that way now, where I'm starting to kind of come more to like, everything's great and there's space for everybody. And I know I'm going to, maybe in the next year land in the middle and kind of be able to have that balance. But I've just been curious about that, about like what it's like for somebody to really be competitive and want to be great at what they do. Not the best, because I don't feel like really in something this large, any one person or company is ever going to be the best. Yeah. But you can be really great. You can, your, I guess, personal best, whatever that is.
Yeah. And I think it stems from the person too, right? I mean, it takes a special person to like be okay with like growing at 20 miles an hour when somebody else is growing at 30 miles an hour right next to you. Yeah. Right. It's tough. Like, for anybody, even if you're not if you're super competitive, it's probably like a stab in the heart. Yeah. Right. But if you're just like a normal person who's like motivated, it's not fun to watch somebody pass you or, do a better job or win a client over you or something like that. Right. It's not fun, but, I can just share with you, anytime any of that creeps up for me, I immediately go back to just like my personal life and my wife and son and my parents and her parents and the life that we have. And I'm like, whoever that person is, whoever is running that company or whoever's in charge of that, like they have what I have personally in their own world. Yeah. They're just another person doing their job. Yeah. I mean, there shouldn't be no personal, like getting pissed off, personal angst. Oh yeah. Because something's happening. Yeah. Like you can be disappointed, like, ooh, my company didn't win that. Yeah. But the moment you get to that person did that and I didn't get it. Yeah. Then you're in a dangerous place. Yeah, for sure. And that's you. That's internal. That's not something that anybody else did to you. Yeah. That's your own perspective. So just what works for me, anytime I even get near any of that is just to take a step back and get some perspective on, okay, we just lost this $100,000 job for whatever reason. Like we did the best we could do and we did a great job, and I'm confident in my team and I'm confident in our proposal. Yeah. But we didn't get it because an existing agency already had a relationship with the CEO, or they, go to happy hour every Friday and or they put it on an RFP and they were never going to pick a new one. It's just something they had to do. Like there's all these other factors that the humans on the other end, have little to do with in connection with my personal, perspective on that. Yeah. So it's you lose some, you win some is such a good attitude to have. Yeah. As long as you work hard.
Yeah. This is going really well in line with the last episode, which was the one with Paul.
Oh yeah.
And
Paul's awesome. I was introduced to him. Yeah. I mean, I knew of him and I knew of Glazed and Confused, but I was really personally introduced to him from No Bull and Al and helping out with this event. He's been a great support. Yeah. Just from a networking, emotional support, kind of like, let's do this thing. Yeah. Position.
Paul's the type of person, I mean, I've had plenty of comments, plenty of conversations with other people, and we always say, I don't know how he does it. Because there's times where at the end of the day, it's a bakery, so you have to be there super early in the morning to start getting your product ready. And then he's out making the wholesale deliveries himself and doing his social, and it's unreal. So Paul's a great guy. And that was the basis of our conversation, was up until recently, I brought on our first kind of staffer person, super side hustle part-time last year, and she's our event planner. And we started doing that. We wanted to do events every month to have a different event. And so I brought her on, and then with all the clients posting their social, because I schedule it out for the week. And so I would do that on Sundays. And so Sundays, my wife and I have the routine of going to church, going to the grocery store, going to core, and being home by 1:30. Nice. And then I would just be on the couch the rest of the day on my phone scheduling posts. Yeah. And non-existent, in her life. And so I decided, it was okay, something has to change with that. So I just hired somebody else to now do all the posting for me. And that has freed up so much time. Yeah. It's absolutely amazing. Nice. To kind of be in that position and not have to do everything yourself. Yeah. Yeah. That feels really good.
That's good. Good for you.
So Paul and I were kind of talking about that. It's what is that balance? Right. At the end of our lives.
It's tough.
Am I going to care about Eat Local CNY? Yeah. I mean, is that really going to be a factor? Right. In my wedding, my brothers in their best man speeches were, talking at poking fun at Eat Local, he's the restaurant king of Central New York, just dumb jokes like that, which are funny. But do I really care if somebody makes that joke at my funeral or not?
A way to look at it too is that who knows if this will be around 2, 10, 20. Yeah. But it could very well evolve into the next thing. Right. Which is the thing that you will remember at your funeral. Yeah. Right. So you don't know. You can't plan for it. I mean, when we started Project Rock City, I didn't know it was going to end here. Yeah. I mean, it's not ended, but I didn't know it was going to be here. Yeah. I didn't want to start an agency or anything like that. It just happened. It was born out of a need to create, which sounds like, sort of what yours is. The internal need to create, to, show people the great restaurants in Central New York and to kind of mesh those things together. So you never know where it's going to end.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah. So I had these questions down before you got in, and I was just thinking that'd be kind of fun to get your perspective on them.
Sure, fire away.
So the first one is, let's say that I'm a restaurant owner, or I'm about to be a restaurant owner, building the place out, concept, all that kind of stuff, but I'm 2 months away from opening. And opening the doors for business. And I haven't done anything on any marketing or social or anything like that yet. So what would your suggestion be of what should I do to start getting the word
out? This isn't marketing, but the first thing is make sure you have a good product. You'd be surprised. Maybe you wouldn't be surprised, but how many people... it depends, right? If you're a chef, it's probably going to be amazing. Yeah. If you're somebody who's I want to open a restaurant, and you randomly just go hire a chef to come in and make it, it could start any number of ways, right? But
Yeah.
make sure you have something that's good, because any business, let alone the restaurant business, if you don't, it's going to fizzle out immediately, right? Restaurant business has got to be, it's number one, number two, number three, hardest thing to, hardest industry to be successful at, right?
Yeah.
So number one, have a good product. And if you don't, get it right as soon as you can. Get people in here, get their feedback, get their honest feedback. So that the reason I say that is that ties to brand, right? That is your brand, is how amazing your products are. And if somebody goes in and has a bad product, they're not going to come back and they're not going to tell anybody unless they tell everybody that you have a bad product, right?
Right.
So the second thing is the customer service. That's might even be more important than the product sometimes. Right. If you love the people who are serving you food and your food's just okay, you might go back just for the service. So I don't know. Those are sort of the same. Let's ball those into the same thing. Have a great product, right? But from a marketing standpoint, the most efficient thing that you can do is to go invite people with large audiences to your restaurant and give them the world. Whatever that might be. Maybe it's just one dinner where all of these influencers are all eating at the same time, taking pictures, taking video, and then they're sharing that out, and sharing that to their audiences. So that could be somebody who's got a huge Instagram or YouTube following, or it could be a local food critic. It just depends on where you are and what you're doing, but invite and get people with large audiences in there. We'll call them influencers. In there to share their experiences. And maybe it's not one time. Maybe it's they get to come. You do something where they come in every day for a week straight. They get free food. They get free drinks. Maybe even give them invite them, give them a local hotel stay if they're coming from out of the area. Go big, because that will provide more social proof quicker than posting on Facebook, picture. I mean, you still need to do all of that stuff, and that can come, but running ads, or running ads in the newspaper, or running ads on TV or something like that. All of that is basically saying, hey, we're awesome, come see us. Whereas if you invite influencers in, show them an amazing time and get them to tell their story of their amazing time, that's 10 other people saying, hey, I just went to this restaurant. They're the next greatest thing here. You got to go try it. That means so much more than $100,000 in ad spend, or whatever else from a marketing standpoint.
I think you just answered the next two questions as well.
Sorry.
No, that's great, man. It's so funny. I mean, I've only worked with influencer I've done it a few times, but I did it for Eat Local back around Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and I didn't have great success with it. I reached out to all the food Instagrammers in Syracuse. And basically for that, I forget what our discount, it may have been 20% or 30% off is what we were running for the card for those 2 days. And I said, if you'll make the post, I'll create the content and the copy. You just post it with your unique discount code to be applied at the website. I'll pay you a 30% commission. And all of them said yes. And there was 10 or 12 of them that all made a post. They all had to do it within I took it off the Fire Festival documentary, they had all of them posts, right? So, except the content was really shitty. So maybe it was my fault, but 3 of them had sales from it. 2 of them had good sales from it. And the majority of them had no sales whatsoever. And now that could be attributed to any number of things. It was not great content. It could be because they're not used to making posts about go buy this. It could be any number of things. But you've had success with influencer marketing.
Yeah, very much so.
Has it been more on a larger scale, or more of micro influencers with small accounts?
Micro and nano is sort of a new term.
Okay.
Nano is everyday people.
Okay.
Nano's me, you, from a personal standpoint, my wife. Nano influencers are the most valuable because they're believable.
Yeah.
They're trustworthy. They don't have any financial, reasons that they're saying this is a great cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Even though they might. I mean,
Right.
you can pay a nano influencer, you can give them free products, things like that. But
yeah.
I'll use my good friend Chris Biley, who owns XO and Original Grain.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know this for sure because we've actually never had this conversation. So you'll have to go ask Chris. But I assume just by watching him and the success of Original Grain that he does use influencers.
Yeah.
Micro, nano. He'll get them from SU and different colleges. But the reason why they grew is it wasn't an influencer. It was a source of influence. So he found people from SU, brought them down.
Yeah.
And, you're in college. Word of mouth runs like wildfire.
Right.
Right? If there's something that's cool and hip, it's going to go crazy.
Yeah.
So he found a source of influence at Syracuse University. And now word spread that, oh, you want a good grain bowl and you want some West Coast food, go to Original Grain, right? So it wasn't, even though he did use influencers, I know he did that, but it wasn't necessarily the influencers that did it. It was just finding a source of influence, which was Syracuse University.
Yeah.
So if it's not an influencer in the traditional sense of going out, paying an influencer $500 to do a post or offering them free food, the example I used, it very well could work.
Yeah.
But, it might not work in Syracuse. It might work in LA.
Yeah.
Or it might not work in LA, but it might work in Syracuse. Like, it just depends on the market.
Right.
But finding a source of influence where word of mouth can happen. So in my example of inviting people, that word of mouth might happen on Instagram or a social media network. But if you can get word of mouth through people actually telling their friends or inviting them back to the restaurant because it's great, like that's a different source of influence. So it could be going to colleges. It could be partnering with organizations that have 500 members in your area, whatever that is. You know, so inviting the top leaders of that organization. It could be a company. There could be a business. I don't know, what's the biggest employer? Like Upstate Medical.
Right.
Is that the biggest employer? It's got to be up there.
Them or SU.
Yeah. So you go there and you get the top dogs at, the local hospital or the regional hospital and invite them down and spend a lot of money on it and really get them so that then they go back and then everyone from that company goes and has lunch and all the catering they do comes through you. Like that's an influence. That's a source of influence. So that would be the first thing that I do before I spend any money on marketing or any on external marketing or sales or anything like that, is to try to find those one or two sources of influence that can get the ball rolling. Yeah,
that's great. Well, John, I can't thank you enough for coming down, spending all this time with us on the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, man.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you. So where can people go to find out more about the No Bull Conference?
NoBull2020.com. That's where we're releasing all of our new speakers. We only have 3 announced now, but we have, I think, 7 total, and then we're going to have 4 panels.
Okay.
So we have a lot of speakers we're going to be rolling out over the next 2, 3, 4 months.
Yeah.
You can get tickets there. You can still do the wine deal where you buy some Empathy wine and put in our code, and you'll get a free ticket.
Yeah.
You got about 12 bottles, I think. So NoBull2020.com, you can follow us on social media. And something really cool, too, is that because this is such a, we're practicing what we preach, so to speak. This conference is all about the real way to grow a business in 2020. And we're doing a vlog where we have some of our camera crew following us around, going to our meetings, going to our internal meetings, going to people we're meeting with, and just covering the things we're dealing with, trying to grow this thing. So we literally grew this from nothing with no money. And, now this is going to be a very successful 2,000 person event. And we're trying to track the progress of it so people can see whether you're trying to start your own business, you're trying to start a knitting company or, an event or whatever it might be, there's always a way. Yeah. You just got to find it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So you can go check that out on all the social media platforms. We put it out on Facebook and YouTube and IGTV.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, John.
Absolutely. Thank you, Anthony.